رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. فما بعد, my brothers and sisters, we now come to the seventh of the Ashara Mubashara, the seven people who were promised the Jannah in their own lifetimes, and that is Sayyidina Abdul Rahman ibn Auf radiyallahu anhu warda. His parents were from both of them from the Zuhra clan of the Quraysh, and his father was Auf bin Abdul Auf, and his mother was Ashifa bint Abdullah. His original name was Abdul Amr and also Abdul Kaaba. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam changed it to Abdul Rahman. He married Habiba bint Jahash radiallahu anha, who was one of the Sahabiyat, one of the female companions of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and all her family, her brothers, they were all very famous Sahaba. Abdul Rahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu came to Islam on the invitation of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, and he came to Islam even before the establishment of Baytul Arqam, where Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to gather with the Sahaba, and they would pray and so on. So he was one of the very first of the people who entered Islam, and they say that he was among the first 8 people who accepted Islam. He participated in both the migrations to Abyssinia and also to Madinatul Munawwara. He was a friend of Umayyah bin Khalaf, who was a great enemy of Islam, and he was the man who used to torture Bilal bin Rabah radiallahu anhu. So when Abdul Rahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu migrated to Medina, he and Umayyah bin Khalaf, they made a written agreement to protect each other's properties in the two places. When Abdul Rahman radiallahu anhu wanted to sign the document as Abdul Rahman, Umayyah said, "I don't know who is Ar-Rahman, and use your name which we know, which is Abdul Amr." And Abdul Rahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu agreed, and that's how we signed that document. Now again they met in the Battle of Badr, and Abdul Rahman bin Auf tried to protect his friend Umayyah bin Khalaf, and however, Bilal radiallahu anhu saw Umayyah bin Khalaf, and he went to one of the groups of Ansar and he said, "Here is Umayyah bin Khalaf, and if he escapes, then woe to me." So they went and to try to kill Umayyah bin Khalaf. Abdul Rahman bin Auf left Umayyah bin Khalaf's son to fight the Ansar who were trying to kill his father, but the son got killed in the process. Umayyah bin Khalaf, Abdul Rahman bin Auf, Umayyah bin Khalaf was a fat man, so he had difficulty running. Abdul Rahman bin Auf told him to kneel down, and he lay down on top of him to protect him, but the Ansar stabbed him from beneath, and they killed him in the process. Abdul Rahman bin Auf also received an injury on his foot. He was one of the people who stood with Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the Battle of Uhud when most of the people had fled. He also participated in the Baitur Ridwan in Hudaybiyah, and also he participated in all the Ghazwat that were led by Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Abdurrahman Nauf radiallahu anhu, after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away in August 634, when Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu was dying, he called Abdurrahman bin Auf and Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu, and informed them that he had designated Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu as his successor. Abdurrahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu witnessed also the Battle of Qadisiyah, which was in 14 Hijri, before the Muslim armies went on to conquer Setestimon, the capital of the Sasanian Persian Empire. Later, Abdurrahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu also participated in the Battle of Jalula in the year 16 Hijri, and where the Muslims got some very major spoils of war. During the Khilafah of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, Abdurrahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu used to lead the Hajj pilgrims to Mecca, and he pursued more or less a scholarly life. When Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu was stabbed, he nominated a board of 6, a council of 6 people as the Shura, and he said to them, elect one of yourselves as the next Khalifa. So that group was Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas, Abdurrahman bin Auf, Zubair bin Awam, Talha bin Ubaidullah, Ali bin Abi Talib, and Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhum ajma'een. Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu was chosen as the Khalifa, and Abdurrahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu was the one who announced it. Abdurrahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu actually stepped out of this, and he said, I am not interested in becoming the Khalifa. So he became the person who facilitated that selection committee. He died in Medina in 32 Hijri, and at the age of 72 years, and he is buried in Al-Baqi. Now, Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu was known for his wealth. He was one of the wealthiest of the Sahaba, and he was recorded as having 100 horses in his stable, 1,000 camels, and 10,000 sheep, which all grazed on the land in Al-Baqi. And his inheritance, in today's terms, in terms of wealth, it's amazing. When he died, his wealth was valued, and we have the exact numbers because his will is there. So what he left behind and who he left it to and so on is all documented evidence. So his wealth is valued in gold coins as 3 billion 103 million Islamic dinars. Each gold coin was 4.25 grams of gold. His whole wealth, if it was to be converted into US dollars, would be about $501 billion. The interesting thing to keep in mind when we have these figures is that this is not notional wealth, as in terms of the wealth of the billionaires today, which is mostly in terms of stock value. This is actual physical wealth of gold and silver. So the real value of that is far in excess of what we might have people today who are considered wealthy. Abdurrahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu, the many stories of his personal generosity. He he contributed to all the ghazwat. He bequeathed 400 dinars to the survivors of Badr, and also to the Azwajatul Mutahharat, the Ummahatul Mu'mineen, the wives of Rasulullah, our mothers. Zahabi reported that Abdul Rahman ibn Auf once brought a caravan of 700 camels loaded with goods into Medina, and Aisha Siddiqa radhiyallahu anha said that I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, I have seen Abdul Rahman ibn Auf entering Jannah crawling. Now this was informed to Abdul Rahman ibn Auf that Sayyidah Aisha Siddiqa radhiyallahu anha had said that she heard Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying that Abdul Rahman, I have seen Abdul Rahman entering Jannah crawling. When this was repeated to him, he said, if I could, I would like to enter Jannah standing, that is, enter Jannah walking. And I swear to you, Ya Amma, that this entire caravan with all its merchandise I give in charity, and he gave it away. 700 camels plus all their goods, he gave it away in charity. He also reportedly gave 50,000 gold dinars of his personal wealth in charity. The important thing to understand here with him, radiyallahu anhu, is the fact that he, and with regard to him, with regard to Uthman ibn Affan, radiyallahu anhu, and others, actually just two of them really, if you look at it. The important thing to understand is that these people, when they say he was very wealthy, we're not here talking about wealth as in how much money he had. We're talking here about the generosity of the person. The ghina. Now, ghina or ghani, usually ghani is translated as wealthy, but the quality of the ghani, the ghina, is not the amount of wealth, but is the istighna. It is the fact that this person is not attached to this wealth. So a ghani is somebody who is mustaghni. He is free, or she is free from all need. Now we translate this as free from need, meaning somebody who has so much money that they have no need. The need to have money is a need. This is what is called greed, right? And there's no end to that. You want to have more and more and more and more and more, and people have, there's no, that doesn't end. There's no one number at which you say, if I have this much, I will not do anything more. That number doesn't exist. We just keep on wanting more and more and more. Whereas the mustaghni is a person who, irrespective of what he or she has, and sometimes they may have very little or nothing, their heart is content. So, for example, if you take somebody like Hasan Basri rahmatullahi alayh, who had almost nothing, or Hatim al-Asam, who had nothing, radiallahu anhu, rahmatullahi alayh, these were people who were mustaghni. So you would say that somebody like, at least I would say that somebody like Hasan Basri was also ghani, because he is not ghani as because he had money, but he is ghani because he had no need. You had take, many people like this who in our Salaf Salihin, the great scholars and the pious predecessors in Islam, who were so free from needing things. The life and wealth of this dunya did not have any, they had no attachment to that. This did not have any attraction for them. And that is why for them, to be generous was easy. It was not something that was difficult for them. Right? because they were not attached to. I mean, to give away something that you don't really care about is not so difficult. But when you have love for that thing, then it's very difficult, to say to give it away, because then it's very, very tough. The famous story of Abdurrahman Mauf radiallahu anhu, who came to Medina, and he had he came as a literally as a refugee. So he when he came to Medina, he was the brother. He was made the brother of the one of the Ansar radiallahu anhu, and he said to him, his Ansari brother was Sa'ad bin Rabi' radiallahu anhu, and when Abdul Rahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu came to Medina, and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam made him the brother of Sa'ad bin Rabi', Sa'ad bin Rabi took him home and he said, look, I am one of the wealthiest of the Ansar, and I want to give you half my wealth, and I have two wives, and if you would like, I will divorce whichever of them you like, and after her iddat is over, you can marry her. Abdul Rahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu thanked him, and he said, no, I will just show me which market in Medina where I can trade, and I will take care of myself. And he was shown to the market of Banu Kainuka, and there he established his business, and he traded, and he became one of the wealthiest of the Sahaba, and as I mentioned, to the extent of his wealth. Now he traded in many things, in horses, in saddles, in all kinds of things, and but he was known for his very meticulous record keeping and very fair dealing. He also was known for his tremendous generosity. Very interestingly, he would give interest-free loans to other traders, and he also helped people to pay off their debts. Now this shows us how generosity is the cause of earning wealth. So when you are generous, you are not losing anything, you are actually opening the doors for wealth to come your way. And this is shown in the lives of many of the Sahaba, and Abdul Rahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu was one of them, in whose life we see how being generous pays off. And that's how also we have, as I mentioned to you, this issue of istighna, of having this freedom from material connections. He was known as the wealthy ascetic. So he himself didn't indulge in ostentation or in using his wealth for luxury or pomp and splendor, but used it to help others and so on. And of course also he was extremely wealthy himself. He was one of the few people who was considered to be one of the ulama of the Sahaba. He was a hafiz of the Quran. He used to give fatwa by the permission of Rasulullah sallallahu. He would come and people would ask him for rulings, and he would give rulings. He was, if you look at the ideal person, he was somebody who you could look up to and say that here is a man who I emulate, and and hope to be successful. One day, soon after he came to Medina, he came in the presence of Rasulullah sallallahu, and he saw, Nabi sallallahu saw some saffron and some perfume. He smelled some perfume on his clothes. So he said, what is this? Ya Abdul Rahman. Abdul Rahman Ibn Auf smiled and said, Ya Rasulullah, I got married to an Ansari woman yesterday. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, what did you give her as mahar? And he said, I gave her a gold nugget. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was very happy, and he said he should give a walima. He said even if it is of one sheep. So Abdul Rahman Ibn Auf did that, and he gave a walima and invited people and whoever his family was there for this walima. Despite being one of the wealthiest people, his priorities always were in order. He used to say, "Tarakna nisful halal, makhafa ar-riba." He said, I left half of what is halal, afraid that I would accidentally engage in riba. So he made a huge profit by being absolutely clear that he would not indulge in any interest-based dealings. So today when people say, you cannot make money unless you indulge in haram, sorry, that doesn't hold water. He would never. Abdurrahman Auf is one of the many examples of the Sahaba who would not touch anything which had a possibility of being haram. Haram they would not touch anyway, but even if there was some doubt, they would not touch anything which was doubtful. When Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu, and when Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu passed away, he left inheritance, and in his inheritance, which is the 1/3 which he could give away on his own, he left some money also for Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu. Obviously, Sayyidina Uthman himself was a very wealthy person, but he eagerly received this money, and when people asked him, he said that Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu's money was guaranteed to be the halal of the halal, which is very, very pure and halal, because the desire for money never came into the heart of Abdurrahman ibn Auf. And so he said this money has a lot of barakah in that. It's very important to understand from this that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made halal for us all the good things in life, and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited were things which were intrinsically bad. So if you change that around, obviously this is a matter of great loss, dunya wal akhirah. Once Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu was fasting, and the time came for iftar. As he began to break his fast, the people saw that he was weeping and tears flowing from his face, and he could not eat. They asked him, and he said, Musab ibn Umair was martyred. He got shahada, and he was better than me. He was wrapped in a garment so that if it covered his head, his feet showed, and if they covered his feet, his head showed. Hamza radiallahu anhu was martyred, and he was better than me. They found no funeral shroud to wrap him in other than the clothes that he was wearing. Now the world has expanded for us, and we have been given so much. I am afraid our blessings are given to us in this world itself, and that we will not get anything in the next world. And he's saying this despite being guaranteed Jannah, being a veteran of Badr and Hudaybiyah in Baytul Ridwan, and being one of the Ashabul Hijratan, the people who did Hijrah twice. Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu was like this. He was so humble, he would never become arrogant in this way to say, oh, I have done so much. Now in the era when racism was rampant, and subhanAllah, we seem to have come back completely full circle, where people who were black and non-Arab were looked down upon, Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu, who felt honored when Sayyidina Bilal expressed an interest in marrying his sister. Um, he did not buy into the Jahili tradition of tribalism. Sayyidina Bilal was a great Sahabi, and he was the Muaddin of Rasulullah, and he happily supported the marriage of his sister to Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu anhu. And so the big message here is the sister of an Arab, a Qurayshi of the clan of Banu Zuhra, whereas Bilal radiallahu anhu was a freed slave from Abyssinia. Yet Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, an Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, and nor does a non-Arab have any superiority over an Arab. A white person has no superiority over a black person, or a black person over a white person, except by piety and good action. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. Allah said in Surah Hujurat, the best in the sight of Allah among you is the one who is the most pious. And this is how Abdul Rahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu and Sahaba like him express that in their own lives. Sayyidina Abdul Rahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu obviously had enough and more money to live a life of luxury if he wanted, indulging in whatever pleasures that money could buy. But instead he was constantly looking for ways to spend this money in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whenever Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam asked for money for various projects, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu would always stand up and he would always donate very, very generously. Every time Sayyidina Umar asked for money for projects, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu donated money. He did that same thing for Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu. Always in the Battle of Tabuk, he donated generously for the expedition, and then also then spent money equipping people who were too poor to equip themselves. After Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam passed away, he took it upon himself to take care of the needs of the Ummahatul Mu'mineen, the mothers of the believers, his wives, and he fixed stipends for them from his own money, and he would take them for Hajj whenever they wanted to go. Talha bin Ubaidullah radiallahu anhu used to say that all the people of Medina were living off Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. He had 1/3 of the money. He said 1/3 of his money had debts which Abdul Rahman ibn Auf had paid off. 1/3 was taken as loans from him that he never asked for payment, and 1/3 had received direct sadaqah from him. So he's talking about the people of Medina. Now imagine, here is a man who's giving away like this, because he knows that whatever he spends in the path of Allah, Allah will return this to him multiple fold. So that is the reason why, even though his enormous wealth was there, and then when he died, I told you, what he left behind amounted to, in today's money, $500 billion. The focus of his life was always in giving away, and he gave away, and he gave away, and he gave away continuously. He was known for his wisdom, as I mentioned to you. He was known for his bravery in battle. One of the most famous incidents from his life, when he was with Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he led Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in Salah during the expedition of Tabuk. Time for Fajr came, but Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was not with the Sahaba. They realized that he had gone for the call of nature. But as they waited, the time for Fajr was ticking away. So the Sahaba called Abdul Rahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu to come forward and lead them, and he stepped up and he led the Sahaba in Salatul Fajr. During the second rakat, Rasulullah joined the prayer and prayed behind him, giving him the distinction of being the only person to lead the prayer, Rasulullah in Salah. In the Battle of Tabuk, when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam asked people to donate, he gave what would be in today's terms about $250,000. The hypocrites of Medina made fun of him, saying that he only gave the money to show off. Interestingly, when a poor man came to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to donate the only thing he could, which was a handful of dates, they made fun of him also. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam responded to this mockery, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded to this mockery by revealing Quran. And Allah said, among the hypocrites are those who slander the believers. As to the charitable offerings they volunteer, indeed they slander those who find no more to offer in charity than their personal efforts. Still they scoff at them. Rather, Allah scoffs at the scoffers among them, and for them there is a most painful torment awaiting in the hereafter. Now we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to emulate the beautiful akhlaq and the beautiful examples of the Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim ajmain. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to be among those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loved and loves, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to develop the akhlaq and the ability to do what pleases Him, and save us from God that does not please Him. وصلى الله على نبي الكريم وآله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.